is Adirondack country in the state of New York, one of America's first vacation lands. Justly famous for its wild, unspoiled mountain scenery, the region is noted also for the significant role it played in the stirring saga of American history. Fort Ticonderoga, built by the French in 1755, soon fell to the British, and finally in 1775 to the Americans in the daring raid of Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys. It still stands as a testimony in stone to the violence that shattered the peaceful woodlands and to the blood that was shed on the forest floor. And after the American colonies had won their war for independence, even tier settlements had begun to appear. Still, the violence continued. And as a part of this turbulence, sometimes playing an active role, sometimes innocently looking on, the noble red man who had walked these forest trails long before the white man came. One of these Indians, from the tribe known as Iroquois, disturbed by the unrest in the once peaceful forest, turned to his canoe and set off in the summer of 1791 on a journey. It was a long, long journey, longer than any of his fathers had ever attempted. It was a journey into the future in search of a happier time. It is this Indian who by his quest has immortalized his tribal name in one of the innumerable legends to come out of the Adirondacks, the legend of the Inquisitive Iroquois. Shrugging off his painful injury, immune to the weariness of a 170-year canoe trip, the Iroquois moved on into the woods. True primitive that he was, his natural curiosity was immediately aroused by strange sights in this virgin wilderness. Keeping at a respectful distance from the pathway of the roaring moose, the Indians set out once again. He had not walked more than a mile when he came over the brow of a hill, pushed his way through some bushes, and confronted a sight which made his heart leap within his breast. There, almost side by side, a familiar horse-drawn wagon and the moose that roared. Now that there was something wrong. Cost what it might, he had to follow that wagon and protect those defenseless children. minutes, the wagon and its precious cargo were subjected to a merciless attack by a horde of bloodthirsty savages. Quenching the instinctive summons to join with his fellow Indians, he prepared to come to the defense of the boys and girls in the covered wagon. But this time, his help was not needed. He determined to keep a careful watch in the event there should be more trouble. The occupants of the wagon got out at a clearing in the forest, which seemed to be some sort of a ranch. The Indian raid apparently was forgotten now, and it looked as if the young people were in capable hands. So the Iroquois relaxed his vigil and decided to have a look around. Endurance of an Iroquois has to be restored by sleep.
All right, you little doggies, get out of the sack. Kick those covers off. We're ready to meet another day. We've lots of exciting for you to do, so don't be slow. First off, devotions.
Indians have to get up in the morning. Indians eat breakfast, but quiet time, this was something new. Some were praying. He knew what that was. Others were reading. They were reading very intently, and they all seemed to be reading from the same book. It was a real mystery. Someday, if he could get close enough, he would have to steal a glance at one of those books. His attention was diverted now by a ceremony related to the raising of a banner. He remembered having seen the flag of the French and the flag of the British, and thought that perhaps this might be the flag of the new nation, the United States of America, except that it had too many stars. braves and squaws had their own program, while the older trail-wise warriors had theirs too.
United States, sure to hear you when you pray. Ride along, little cowboy, ride along. Tell to all of Jesus' love, travel on. There's a work that must be done ere the setting of the sun. Ride along, little cowboy, ride along. Ride along, little cowboy, ride along. Ride along, little cowboy, ride along.
That afternoon, with the uncanny intuition of the savage mind, the Iroquois knew that trouble was near. It began innocently with the arrival of a very important personage at the ranch. Realizing that he was probably the governor of the territory, the Indians sharpened his vigilant surveillance. Suddenly, the Iroquois' darkest fears were realized. The same horde of savages who had attacked the covered wagon and headed in this direction. He had to warn the defenseless ranchers. They were all completely oblivious to the clarion call of danger. There was only one more thing for the Iroquois to do. Run for the hills! Baffled by his strange experience, the Iroquois was curious to see more of this new land. Never one to turn from danger, he now risked his weary bones to one of the roaring moose, and soon was headed to the north. To himself that the ranch of many children had indeed been a pleasant place, if you can understand children, that is. But this was truly a happy hunting ground. Yes, indeed. It was a wonderful place to lie down and sleep and dream. What the sound of calisthenics could not do, the music of children's voices could. And the Iroquois was soon awake to face the new day. These were not the children of the ranch. These were the children of the people of the happy hunting ground. And well might they be happy, he thought, free from any intrusion by the hostile savages he had encountered the day before. His attention was diverted now to more mundane matters. Again, a crowd of people seemed to be attracted in one direction. And his nose told him why. But again, the Iroquois was to be frustrated. He could not approach close enough without being seen. And the hungry people of the happy hunting ground left nothing behind. Seemed to play with the carefree abandon of the children. Finally, he had the chance he'd been waiting for. All the men and women left their games and gathered for an important meeting. He thought, games are not for Indians. Perhaps he too should attend the meeting. It appeared that the people of the happy hunting ground were reading from the same book as the children of the ranch. This time, when the meeting was over, he finally found one of these books. But never having attended any of the white man's schools, he could not decipher the strange marks in them, and the mystery of the book remained unsolved. Wise in the ways of life in the forest, the red man knows that if he cannot find food to eat, he can always conserve his energy by sleeping. It was the sound of a motor that awakened him. Not the roaring moose of the roadways, but a funny-looking canoe coming in from an island far out in the lake. There were people being taken out to the island in these crazy-looking boats. Yet a third tribe to be reckoned with. First, the children of the ranch, then the hungry people of the happy hunting ground, and now the strange new tribe of the distant island. Somehow, he knew that was where he must go. was perilous, he finally pulled his canoe onto the shore. He had reached his goal, the island. Not to be fooled twice, this time, no outcry, but on into the woods. Protected from surprise attack by any hostile tribes on the mainland, the people of the island seem to be devoting all their energies to contests among each other. Often these contests were bitterly fought, with the partisan efforts of the contestants clearly reflected in the response of the spectators. It soon became apparent, however, that the island dwellers were interested in activities other than physical combat in the arena. They seemed to enjoy riding horses along the island trail. Most of these horses were exactly like those he had ridden so long ago in his own territory. But also on the island was a horse of a different color.
Cutest on this earth, bright islands and valleys, her left one has more worth. Her ponytail's a dandy, her hairdo is no prize, and it sure comes in handy when she does switch and
within him an irrepressible yearning to be an active part of the fun and merriment of the great sand beach. Attention to the more serious things of life now, the Iroquois noticed that the island dwellers, too, were people of the Little Black Book. It was clear that the children of the ranch, the people of the happy hunting ground, and the island dwellers all worshiped the same God. Sometimes they studied their black books alone. Sometimes they gathered in groups outside on the lawn. Other times they studied inside with strange white marks on a blackboard. And then there was the music.
Our Lord is leading us to glory, oh so wonderful is He, Savior, wonderful is He. His life faithfulness, oh God, my Father.
boy or a girl accepts the Lord as his Savior, they're out there immediately trying to win their friends to the Lord. And that's what you ought to be doing right here in the United States.
The Iroquois' heart was stirred. Now he went off by himself and sat down at the edge of a clearing to think more deeply about these matters. But not for long was he to be alone. He listened carefully as young person after young person stood up to talk. They all had something to say about someone they called Jesus Christ, who lived in their hearts. They all seemed happy, and they spoke about wanting to tell other young people about this same Jesus Christ, who could save people from their sins. Finally, the leader spoke too.
If Zacchaeus had missed it that day, he would have missed it forever. Because that very day, Jesus Christ left Jericho, and in the body, he never returned to Jericho again. From Jericho, he went to Jerusalem. From Jerusalem, he went to the cross, and from the cross, he went to the tomb, and from the tomb, he went to heaven, but he never came back into Jericho again. If Zacchaeus had missed it that day, he would have missed it forever. This man, Jesus, received his sinners. Will you receive him? Let's pray.
We come to the end of the legend of the Inquisitive Iroquois. No one is quite sure just how the legend ends. Indeed, some say it hasn't ended at all. They say that the Iroquois rather like the Word of Life camps, that he's still there, somewhere on Screw Lake. So this summer, on your vacation at Word of Life, whatever you may be doing, look around. Look around. You may see an inquisitive Iroquois.